Today's presentation is on the online renewals in BNI Connect. And the great part about the online renewals is that pretty much it's kind of easy to use because everybody, just about everybody nowadays has purchased something or filled out a form online. So with this process, with the online renewals, what is great about it is that you don't have to chase somebody down for a paper application. And that makes things, especially in an organization like BNI, where we're meeting for 90 minutes once a week, if somebody forgets to bring the application with them, or somebody forgets to give them the application, or they run out the door, or whatever it might be, a lot of times we don't think about it again until next week when we can hand that paper renewal application over. With the online renewals, though, we can pretty much do an online renewal 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Let me show you how this process works. So there's three different parts of the process of renewing this membership online. There's the application portion of it, and that's where the member goes in and fills out the application online. And this is done through BNI Connect. So you do have to log into BNI Connect, so you have to be an active member, and you will have an option, if it's enabled in your region, to perform a renewal. So the second part of that process, though, is really dealing with the leadership team. And every online application in BNI Connect must also be approved or declined online through BNI Connect. So online application, online approval process. If you're still using the paper renewal applications, then those are still just done the old-fashioned way, and you check off the box that says I approve them on the paper application, and that's it. But the online renewals must be also approved online. And the third part of this process is that the renewal is reconciled. And this is the same as it always has been for the executive directors or their regional administrators, where they will go in and they'll say, yes, this payment was received, and that closes out the process. So let's take a look at this from those different levels or those different perspectives. The first part of this is, what does this look like to the member? So how does a member process an online renewal? Now, there's a number of different ways that they can start this online renewal process. And I'll actually, in a minute, I'm going to log in as a member and show you what it looks like to perform a renewal from a member. So we'll switch out of the PowerPoint and into a live version of this. But there's four different opportunities for them to start the renewal application. The first of which is they get a Renew Now link in the reminder email. So by default, 60 days before their membership is due. So right now we're about to hit July 1st, 2016, if you're listening to the recording. Those people would have gotten their 60-day renewal reminder 2 months ago. So around May 1st, 60 days before tomorrow, they would, or 60 days before Friday, they would have received that renewal reminder saying, would you like to renew? And in that reminder, there's a link that says, click here to renew now. And that would start the renewal process. Now, if they didn't get that email or they ignored it, they didn't want to renew 2 months early, whatever the case may be, there is usually a link on the regional website for those regions that have this enabled. They can put a Renew Now button on their website, and that will start the process. The third way is that there is a Renew Now link button on the home screen in BNI Connect. And finally, if they're in their profile, there is a Renew Now link there as well. And actually, there is a fifth way if your region is processing pre-approvals, which means that ahead of time, the membership committee can go in and say, yes, we are going to be approving you in the next month or 2 months when you come up for renewal. It then sends them an email saying, hey, by the way, your membership committee just approved you. Would you like to go ahead and renew now? So there's actually 5 different ways that a member can start this renewal. This is just a sample of what the renewal email looks like, and it just says, thank you for participating. Would you like to proceed with your renewal? And you'll notice that there is a Renew Now link on the left-hand side of this one, and also a Renew Now link within the body of the text as well. There's also the links on the regional websites. Now, every regional website is slightly different. There are common elements, but they customize them. This is just a couple of examples. In Minnesota, they have a blue Renew Now button. In the heartland in Nebraska, they have a Renew Now button that's kind of a red rounded button. And in Arizona, they have more of a squared off button. But the short story is they all do the same thing. They all bring you into the renewal application. So let's take a look. What does this look like to a member? So I'm going to pull up a web browser here. And let's take a look at this from a member perspective. So I'm going to log in as one of my members. So I'm going to log in as Ricky Martin. Ricky Martin is one of my famous members in the Antarctica Burr chapter. And Ricky is coming up for renewal. So he could have clicked on the link in the email. There's also the link right here that says Renew Now. So that's the one that's on your home screen. If I go into update my profile, you'll note that there is a button here also that says Renew. Again, it doesn't matter where you click. It's all going to do the same thing. So I click Renew. And now I just basically need to fill out the form, and it's really just a couple of checkboxes and radio buttons. This is Antarctica, where we pay in dead fish or wampum. So we can go with a 1-year or a 2-year renewal. I understand this is a test membership, so your application, depending on what country you're in, and I know that we have some people on the call today from India, from the UK, from Canada, from the United States. Obviously, your fees will be in your own currencies. They're going to be a little bit different, and your questions may be different as well. But you do have to make sure that you answer all of the questions that have an asterisk next to them. The next thing we can do is it says check and update your member details. So if I click this button here, this gives me the opportunity to review my profile and make any changes that might be necessary. So if there are any changes made to fields that have this red pound sign, notice any areas marked with a pound sign will require approval by your region, and only after that will it be updated. Okay, so it's not automatic that we will, just because you say, well, I don't want to be in child care services anymore, I want to be in, engineering, that takes approval before it's updated. And an email goes out letting the region know and everything else that this has been changed. We then have to agree to the terms and policies, and at that point we can proceed to payment. Gabby says we don't seem to have that option in the UK. Again, that's a discussion to have with your executive director, Gabby. And by the way, thank you for being on all of these webinars. I think Gabby has been on every single webinar this month, so thank you for joining us. The online renewals are an option, so not all regions are using the online renewals. That said, you're welcome to, if you think this is a good idea and you think the process looks like it's going to work well for your region, to go back, speak with your executive director, and let them know that this functionality does exist in BNI Connect should they want to use it. Does that make sense, Gabby? Awesome. And Gabby is a star pupil. Yes. All right. Awesome. So at this point, we just choose our payment type, whether, different regions will also have different options. In Antarctica, we only accept payment by check, but there may be online credit cards or there may be wire transfers, whatever it might be, and then you'll see the instructions for what to do with your check or how to process your bank transfer or whatever other type of payment. The upload button here is if you need to upload a proof of payment, like a copy of the check or something like that. And finally, we submit. And at this point, we've been applied. It will let us know that it will be up for review, and our membership committee will contact us once our decision has been made, whether we're approved or declined. And at this point, there are some emails that go out. For example, I am part of the leadership team in Antarctica. So I just got one notice saying, hey, by the way, Ricky Martin changed from child services to engineering. Is that something that you think is warranted? And we also see that a renewal has been received, and it gives us a copy of the renewal that we can review as a leadership team as well. And essentially, that's it. That is the process for a member. Fill out the form, make a payment, and some notifications go out. That's all there is to it from a member perspective. All right, are there any quick questions on the member side of things before I kind of switch hats here and show you the leadership team side of things? All right, I'm not seeing any questions, so let's move on to the leadership team side of things and see what this looks like for people that are on the membership committee, people that are the vice president or possibly the president, secretary, treasurer, director, consultant, etc. A couple of things about renewing and the approval process. All online renewals must be approved in BNI Connect. Again, before they can be fully processed and reconciled by the regional office, they must be approved in BNI Connect. Now, the approval process is not a vote. What it is you're registering the decision of the membership committee. So the membership committee absolutely still 100% needs to meet in person and discuss the renewal. That process is not changing at all. The only difference is rather than the membership committee or the vice president signing the renewal application and putting a checkbox saying I approve, they're doing that online through BNI Connect. They're going in and putting the checkbox online to register the membership committee's decision. So usually it's only the vice president, usually only one person renders the decision, not everybody on the membership committee. Now, there's 3 different levels of approval. There is full, conditional, or somebody could be denied. Conditional approval, that all it's doing is registering the decision of conditions. It does not put the conditions in, nor does it enforce those conditions. All of that is done offline. There are different times when you can renew as well, and this is also going to be up to the region. There's either pre-approvals or post-approvals, or the option to do both. A pre-approval means that we are going to, before the person puts the application in, we're going to approve them. And in some cases, the member can't put in an application until they've been approved. The second type is a post-approval, which means that the member initiated the process, put a renewal application in, and then the membership committee reacts to it, which in some cases it's set to only allow post-approvals. Or in a lot of regions, this is how most people have it configured, is that you can either do a pre-approval or a post-approval. And for the regional office and for those executive directors on with us today, you cannot reconcile the application until the approval has been done and until a payment has been made. So let's take a look at the pre-approval process. There's 2 different ways that a pre-approval can be submitted. The first of which is that when you get the membership committee reminder email, the membership committee reminder email, that usually goes out 90 days before a member is due. That email will have a list of all of the people that are due in 90 days. There'll be a link in there. If online renewals are turned on, there'll be a link in there that says pre-approve. And you can click on that link. It'll bring you to the pre-approval screen. The second way, and you can do this anytime, is to just go to the membership dues report. If online renewals are enabled, then there will be a link in that report to do the pre-approval. So let's take a look at that process. All right, I'm going to go back into BNI Connect now, and here I'm going to need to sign out as Ricky Martin, and I'm going to need to sign in as one of the leadership team people. So let me sign in as Alfred E. Newman. He is my vice president up in the Burr chapter. So here's what we have. Again, we can go to the membership dues report. So if I go to reports, and I go to the membership dues report. What we'll see here is a list of all the members and their due dates. And the people in bold here are the people that should be in the process already. So we have, for example, Harvey Keitel is coming up for renewal, but he hasn't submitted a renewal yet. So we can go in and pre-approve him. Oh, and it looks like actually Harvey has already been pre-approved. So must be from the last time I did this webinar. Let me close out of that. Let me try, I don't know, Mike Jones here. I've done this webinar too many times without going in and unapproving people. Oops, let me sign back in here. As you can see, this is indeed a live webinar. So let me go back to the membership dues report here and find somebody to pre-approve. All right, now this person isn't due until 2017, so it's giving me a warning saying, yeah, this one is pushed out a little ways. Are you really sure you want to approve this one? When I get in there, what it's going to do is it's going to give me their history, their POMS history here. So the last 6 months worth of data so I can review this. The other thing I can do is click on the training details. And what this does is it opens up their member profile. And it brings us to the training page. And I can see here that Bob Jones has not taken any trainings. I guess he didn't even do his member success program. I can also go through the rest of his profile and see if he's filled out any of his information or if he's filled out his bio or if he has any testimonials or recommendations. Now, despite the fact that he seems to be a bit of a lackadaisical member, I still have the option to pre-approve them. The first thing I have to do is to certify that all necessary membership reviews have taken place. Once I check that off, then the pre-approve option becomes available. You cannot pre-decline someone, by the way. You can only pre-approve someone. I can also choose whether or not this is a conditional approval. Again, this is just making a statement on the record saying that this was conditional. What those conditions are and how you enforce them is completely up to you to do in your region and your chapter. And you can also note whether or not a control letter was sent to this member. Once I'm done, I go ahead and click pre-approve. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Now we'll see that he is pre-approved here. And we're done. All right, so that's the pre-approval. Let's take a look at the post-approval. So that's after a renewal application is submitted. And a couple of different ways we can do that. So when a member submits a renewal application, the leadership team gets a notification saying that this person has submitted a renewal application. Would you like to approve it? And I can go ahead and click this approve renewal link here, and that will take me to the renewal screen in order to process the approval. The second way is that can always be done through the pending applications screen. Let's take a look at that real quick. So the pending applications, that's going to be under operations. So if I go to operations, I go to manage memberships, and I click on View Pending Applications. Here we'll see that I have Ricky Martin, who submitted his application a little while ago. I can see that has been submitted, not yet approved. What I need to do is click on this little link here for approve. And essentially this is the same screen that we saw in the pre-approval. The only difference is now there is a link to view the full application. So I can open this up and review the actual application that was submitted. So I can see how they answered their questions. And that they agreed to the terms and service. I can also once again review their training details and See this big yellow warning here? It says this renewal application was submitted with a change to the name, company, or category. So that means that we have to make sure that we keep that in mind when we're approving this and whether or not we approve those changes as well. Once again, I have to certify that I've had our meetings and I can approve or decline it. Declining an application, by the way, does not kick the person out of the chapter, nor does it notify them electronically. Notifying a member that they've been declined must be done through the membership committee process. So we are not going to send an email breaking that news to them. That's something that you do have to do as a membership committee. In this case, though, I'm going to go ahead and approve Ricky Martin. And here we go. It now lets us know that this has all been done and we do not have anything left to do on that. And of course, there's a couple of notifications that go out once that has taken place. All right, so just to review real quick, the approval process, the membership committee reviews the renewal application and member performance. Again, this should be done, or this must be done as an in-person meeting. This is a membership committee meeting where you should be reviewing these. In BNI Connect, all we're doing is registering the result of that meeting. Then the leadership team person, usually the vice president, goes in and registers that approval or decline. And finally, the region can review all this and process the payments. All right, so email notifications. As I mentioned, we do keep people informed during this whole process. And there are quite a few emails that go out. So before the renewal, we have the committee renewal notification, the member renewal notification. If a member opts out, so in that email that goes to the member saying you're due for renewal or even you've been approved, there also is a link in there that says, at this time I'm going to opt out of renewing. If they opt out, it does not close their membership. They still can stay through the remaining weeks or months of their membership. But it does send a notification to the regional office, to the director, and to the leadership team saying, we just wanted to inform you that a member chose to opt out of renewing. So now you can either intervene with the member, find out why they might not be renewing, and possibly even change their mind. There's the pre-approval as well that goes out. So if a member is pre-approved, it lets the member know that they have been and that they should be submitting their application now. During the renewal, there's various notifications that go out to people. And finally, after the online renewal. So there's the approvals, the payments, and if it's declined. And keep in mind, again, it does not go to the member if it's been declined. It only goes to the regional office and the leadership team. If you're curious, let's say that you're on the call with us today and you are a vice president, which emails will I get? You'll get the 90-day reminder, the opt-out, the offline payment sent, or the online renewal received, the payment received, member detail changes, an approve announcement, and a decline announcement. So you would get any or all of those depending on the workflow of the situation. All right, what I'd like to do now is to open this up to questions. Does anybody have any questions at all about the online renewal process? So Steve asks, where can we get a copy of this presentation? I'm so glad you asked, Steve. So a couple of places. There's some other resources. You can get that on our support site, support.bniconnect.com. You can also get there by clicking on the question mark in BNI Connect. Just click on live and recorded webinars and you'll find a copy of this, or we'll be doing this live again in July. You can also go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. That's youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. We also do tips and tricks and announcements and webinar reminders and stuff like that on Facebook, facebook.com/BNI Connect Global. We have a Twitter account. And of course, you can always email us, support@bniconnect.com. We'd be happy to answer your questions at any time. Does that answer your question, Steve? Excellent. Do we have any other questions? All right, if we don't have any questions, just a reminder that we will be performing this and a number of webinars live in the month of July. So a good referral for me is to please let people know about these webinars and help them to sign up for a webinar. Again, we have the whole series, including a member series, how to fill out your profile, how to use the online slips, how to connect with other members worldwide. All of those webinars will be happening in the month of July as well. All right, we have a couple of off-topic questions, which I'm perfectly happy to answer. Carlos asks, when we fill in referrals via BNI Connect, they don't seem to show up for weeks at a time on the POMS report. Do we know when the cutoff time day is supposed to be and how long does it take for it to update? So when I go and I submit a referral in BNI Connect, so let's say I go here, right, and I go and I click on Submit Referral Slip, and I choose somebody from my chapter, and I go and put in my referral information, et cetera, and I submit this. So what happens is immediately that referral is passed. So the person that I pass the referral to, they get their notification saying, hey, you've got a new referral. And then also I should be able to immediately go to review my referral slips. And that referral should show up here. So this referral to Darcy Doolittle here, that one is showing up. Now what you'll notice is this POMS status says draft. So what happens is that all of these are queued up for our next meeting. Now our Antarctica chapter meets on Thursday. So this will be presented to the Vice President for tomorrow's POMS report. So it's recording all the activity up to that meeting. The cutoff time is 8:30. Well, if you meet from 7 o'clock to 8:30, at 8:31 a.m. tomorrow, all new activity will roll into next week's meeting. So it's always recording the activity for the next upcoming meeting. Now, as for when it shows up in the POMS and when this will go from draft to submitted is when your Vice President has submitted their POMS report. In other words, they've taken attendance at the meeting and dealt with any of the paper referrals. That should be happening within a day or two or a couple of days of the meeting and definitely before your next meeting. If that's not happening, that's a conversation that you need to have with your leadership team or with your director consultant. The time again. So again, the time's going to depend on the time of your chapter, Carlos. So if your chapter meets from 7 a.m. to 8:30, the cutoff time is the end of your meeting. Anything submitted after the end of your meeting goes to next week's meeting. Does that make sense? Did that come through? Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, if it's not doing that for whatever reason, definitely you're welcome to shoot us an email and support. Sometimes it also is that we don't know what time your meeting actually ends, so we're going based on how it's set up in BNI Connect. So it could be that the meeting time is set up incorrectly by the region. And again, if there's a delay for when it's showing up in the POMS report, that means that your Vice President or whoever's in charge of entering the data into BNI Connect is not closing their report out in a timely fashion. But again, that's a conversation to have with your director consultant at that point. All right, do we have any other questions? Questions, comments, concerns, compliments? All right, if there's no additional questions, what I'm going to do is thank you guys all for being here today. Oh, hold on a second, Carlos just says one more. Normally when I put in a referral on Sunday and we have our meeting on Wednesday, it's not there. So again, it won't show up right away until after the meeting. So it should be in your print your weekly slips so that you can announce it at the meeting, but it's not going to show up in the history. So if up here in the My BNI business, my referrals given won't change to 4 until after my vice president submits the report. And if I click my personal participation report up here, this will show you all of the weeks that have been submitted. So you can see in Antarctica, we have a problem. Our vice president does not do a very good job in Antarctica of submitting the weekly reports. So I can see here that my vice president in Antarctica, which is pretty much me whenever I do a webinar like this, I closed a report out for June 22nd, but I haven't closed out any reports since May 25th. So I didn't close out the first week of June, the second week of June, the third week of June. So if anybody submitted referrals in Antarctica for any of those 3 weeks, they still aren't appearing on anybody's statistics. All right, hopefully that helps, Carlos. Awesome. Cool. All right, then, on that note, I'll let you guys go. I'll let you get back to your business, and I thank you guys so much for being here and rounding out the month with me, especially Gabby. Thank you so much for being on, if I'm not mistaken, all 9 webinars this month. And if you found them helpful, again, a good referral for me is to please promote these webinars with your members, with your other director consultants and your regions, and I'd love to see more and more people on the webinars on a monthly basis. I look forward to seeing you all soon, and happy connecting.